And welcome to a new Geektown Behind the Scenes podcast. I'm your host, Dave Elliott, and this week I'm chatting with Jina and Shirley Song, the composers behind Netflix's brilliant adult animated series, Exploding Kittens. If you haven't yet caught Exploding Kittens, the series is inspired by the beloved card game from Matthew Inman of the Oatmeal webcomic, Elan Lee and Shane Small. The TV series is set after a meeting in heaven where there is a general consensus that Earth sucks. So God, voiced by the wonderful Tom Ellis from Lucifer, gets fired and sent to Earth to reconnect with humanity. The catch is he's trapped in the body of a chubby house cat. As part of Godcat's rehabilitation, he moves in with a dysfunctional family and tries to solve their problems, but ends up spending a lot of time chasing laser pointers. To top it all off, Godcat's next-door neighbour, who is also a cat, turns out to be none other than his nemesis, the Antichrist. It's brilliant, it's hilariously funny, and season 1 is all on Netflix for you to watch right now. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's fantastic. Jina and Shirley have been composing together pretty much since college, and they were tasked with creating a soundtrack that captures the show's explosive energy. This also involved them touching on a huge array of musical genres like 8-bit nostalgia, energetic Cajun flair, heavy metal rock, and both choral and orchestral scores to bring the madcap adventures of the quirky characters to life. Outside of Exploding Kittens, the duo are also known for working on the beloved Netflix series Kitty, and there's a new season of that coming as well. And they have a number of other projects coming up, which we also discuss. As listeners to the main Geeked Out radio show will know, I was over in LA a few weeks ago, and this was one of the interviews I managed to do live with them in person. It was lovely of them to invite them over to one of their houses and sit down and eat snacks with them and just chat in person. It was a great experience, and they're lovely, lovely people. If you want to hear more behind the scenes interviews, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast by searching for Geektown Radio. This will also give you our weekly Geektown Radio podcast, which brings you all the latest TV, film and gaming news. You can also go to the website at geektown.co.uk for daily news stories and all the latest UK and US TV premiere dates. Here is the interview with Jina and Shirley Song, the composers behind Netflix's adult animated series, Exploding Kittens. Thank you for spending a little bit of time to chat with me in person as well. Which is,
thank you. I'm glad the timing worked out.
Yeah, me too. It's lovely to be in your home. And do you just want to introduce yourself so people know what your voices sound like?
Yeah. I'm Jina with a J with the slight American accent, although I'm Korean.
And I'm Shirley with an S. And I'm the one with the lower voice with the Australian accent.
Awesome. Good. Just start off with a little bit of background about each of you and how you kind of got into composing in the first place.
Well, I think I picked up the violin when I was 4, and it was just, every other Asian kid, that's what all the parents would, make us do. So, throughout all my school years, I was just, although I switched back to viola because my teacher recommended it because I was very slow and didn't have the violinist personality. I was in orchestras. I played keys in musical theater for my high school and just had my own band singing. And that just naturally made me want to pursue in music because I was a music kid in high school. And fast forward to college where I met Shirley, actually. I applied to Berklee College of Music and got in. And it was awesome because, amazing musicians from all over the world would come to Boston to study and pursue music because it's such an amazing, well-known school. And I went to an international school for middle and high school. And I feel like Berklee was kind of like an extension of that, and it was like metal music one day, Indian ensemble one day, and then there's Middle Eastern festival, so I was in rehearsals for that, and then the Chinese Lunar New Year festival, and we would all play like traditional Chinese music, and I just loved being surrounded by all these musicians from all over the world and being able to juggle all these different genres. And I think one day, one course called Intro to Film Scoring taught by Professor Eric Riesner, he mentioned that film composers need to be like chameleons and how you have to adapt to every project based on where it's coming from, and I just thought that was so intriguing. Like, I get to put all these experiences playing for different genres and for different cultures into one career path, because whatever project you get, that's a new challenge. So I just thought that was amazing. And moving out to LA after graduating, Shirley got me a job at this composer studio called Michael Dana, who worked on Life of Pi, 500 Days of Summer. And the first project we got to work on was The Breadwinners, which Shirley was also on. I remember the first thing we did was recording the women's choir at Afghanistan. And that's also like, another extension from like Berkeley days. And like, I just thought it was cool. And then the next project was Red Sea Diving Resort, where we had to get Ethiopian musicians. And I marched down Little Ethiopia, right? We're around like La Brea area. And
right, yeah.
Knocked on the restaurants and I was like, hey, do you know any like King David harp players? They're like, asking the chefs and like, do you know any Masinko players? I'm like, yeah, I'll hook you up. And they ended up, playing for the film. They ended up in the score, and I just thought it's just amazing how this whole film world works. And yeah, sorry that was long, Shirley.
No,
but she's got a whole different like cooler stories.
I wouldn't say cool.
It's way cooler.
No. I also, I didn't play violin, but I played piano when I was like 5 or 6, and so music was always a huge part of my life. But acting also was, because my maternal grandparents were professional theatre actors and directors and playwrights.
Oh, cool.
So when they moved to Australia, they didn't want to just retire. So they opened up their sort of own theatre academy and theatre sort of company. So before I could even walk, obviously my grandparents had, will babysit me and whatnot. And so I would be at all these rehearsals. So I just grew up just acting on stage and reading scripts, analyzing scripts, characters, all of that. So for a hot few years, I would say a hot minute, but it wasn't. It was a few years where I honestly thought I wanted to pursue acting, actually. Mm-hmm. But I think, what deterred me from doing that was I realized just how image-based it was. And, I'm like 5 feet, which is like 153 centimeters. I have a low voice. And when I was being cast on stage, all my characters that I played on stage were, let's just say I've never played a female character. Okay? Even into my early 20s, the closest thing was a eunuch. It was a Chinese court eunuch. All right, so I was like, maybe this isn't the route for me. So I was also very lucky because the school that my parents sent me to just happened to have an incredible music program. And so during middle school and high school, I also had an incredible sort of composition teacher, James Humberstone. And it was actually him who, when I was about to graduate from high school, he was like, what are you going to do afterwards? And I was like, I have no idea. I was a happy-go-lucky kid, right? I was like, I don't have any idea. And he was like, why didn't you study composition? Why didn't you go apply to the Sydney Conservatorium in Music and apply composition? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't think that was possible. So I decided maybe not acting. I was going to pursue composition. My dad was very happy to hear that. And I applied and was offered a scholarship to study there. And, I studied composition there. But the whole time, when I was studying, I started writing for theatre productions, and I realized that, as much as I love writing concert music, I enjoyed collaborating with other storytellers and writing for theatre and writing for sort of film and TV, that sort of world, way more. I just got way more of a kick out of that than just purely writing for myself, so to speak. So after I graduated from the Sydney Conservatorium, I was like, there's something that I've kind of always thought about, but didn't really dare to dream, which was to be a film composer and go to LA. But I was like, F it, like I'm going to do it. And so I also looked at applied to Berklee College of Music and got in. And again, that's where I met this one. Loved her, Grayson, because she's freaking funny, and fell in love with her music. And I don't know, our friendship just kind of grew out of just the respect for each other and each other's musicality and sensitivity to scoring for picture. And I don't know, we've just always had each other's backs. And we moved out to LA. I happened to work for brother Jeff Dana and Jina worked for Michael Danner. So it was kind of also the beginning of our collaboration. We were going to networking events together and being each other's hype women because no one enjoys networking, you know. But we started scoring things together and, you know, we started working for these two brothers. So it was kind of nice to see how they collaborate and work. And while we were also working together, and it was just, we learned a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. So you sort of meet at college and then just end up sticking together. Yeah. The project that you're here to talk about more than anything else is Exploding Kittens, which I saw the Netflix announcement for this and was like, really? And then you go, okay, fine. And then they announced Tom Ellis as the voice of God. And you're like, okay, that makes sense. I've watched the first 5 episodes so far. It's hilarious. It's really, really funny. How did you get involved with that? How did that one come to you?
Yeah, our incredible manager, Steve Nice, has been keeping us afloat since the day we met him. And I think we didn't even know that he pitched us for it. Yeah. And then it was like such a pleasant...
When we got a call back, kind of. We're like, wait a minute. What we pitched for this?
Yeah. And we were so excited because we saw the log line and Shirley had played the
tabletop game.
And my husband's a huge board gamer and he has like this regular board game cafe in Chatsworth that he goes to, and it's just, I think everything about it was unexpected but also super exciting to just and then we got a interview scheduled and we were tasked to kind of score these 2 demo scenes, and then even then we were having such an incredible time just doing the same deal. There were 2 short clips, but
and it was still like sort of in the animatic stage, right? It wasn't for the
and we were just laughing our asses off. This happens a lot when I work with Shirley, but whatever she comes up with and I kind of watch back, I lose myself, and like it's awesome because like when you're writing for your own, like when I'm doing my scenes, like I'm not sure if this is funny enough, but then, you know, we send it back to each other, and then whatever her approaches are, I'm just like, dude, how did she even think of that? And
but that's the same with me, you know. But right back at you know.
Thanks, man. We're just so glad it all worked out, and thankfully they really connected with our approaches and thought they were good decisions and whatnot. So this is history, and wow, it's already out. I know. It's crazy to think back of all that had started there, and you know, it's out.
So how long ago did you get involved with it? Because it's animation. It's like you say, it was at the animatic stage. So and I know animation can take a while. So when were you actually composing?
When was that?
I think it was April of last year, probably. And
not as bad as it could have been.
Because by the time we got it, for the most part, all the episodes were kind of done by then. Even with the strike going on, I think the they could still animate. Right?
Yes, I think the animators were separate. So
you still had delays, but for the most part, it was By the time we started scoring, it was pretty smooth process.
And for animation, it's like you get a pretty close to lock cut and everything's pretty close to being all finished. So then the timings are always pretty locked. So it's just
How do you approach a series like that? Because it is so kind of manic and ridiculous. And where do you even start with something like that?
I think you've explained it so well. I
think just even when we got the log line, we knew it was going to be an epic show. So we knew that in order to be funny, the music had to be very serious and very, very epic and bombastic, because even though they're 2 cats fighting a lot of the times, to them this is Armageddon, right? This is everything. So we really try to score it from how serious it is from their perspective, and I think that's what we thought. We were like, this is what's going to make it sort of funny. And also we had incredible direction from our showrunners Matthew Inman and Shane Kozakowski and Brian Sheasley. And so I think they also gave us incredible references, and it was a blast. It was an absolute blast.
We've hopped on board April last year, but they've been on the projects since years ago. And they know the ins and outs and all that. And their directions were really clear and helpful because they knew exactly what they wanted. So I think that really helped us have a smooth sail ride. throughout.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew not only created the card game, also does the Oatmeal as well, which is the other time, which is hilarious as well.
Huge fan. I was a huge fan.
Yeah, and Shane was involved, I think, in Archer and the Muppets and other kind of completely ridiculous things. So, and then you got Mike Judge as well, is sort of exec producing it, who's incredible. So the team behind it are amazing, and
they are.
Sure.
They are
so amazing.
When you're working together, how are you dividing up that? Do you just sort of split the scenes down the middle and then sort of switch, or one of you struggling with something and you go, here, why do you try it?
That definitely happens.
For sure.
I think a lot of the times in the beginning process, like we'll all have a stab at because before we even started scoring the show, we were developing themes, and that's always like a sort of very, very I mean, it's always a collaborative process, but that I think the initial stage is incredibly collaborative. Once that is established, once we kind of have our themes established, we pretty much sort of split sort of half, and then we score it in our own studios, but then we always send things back and forth because Gina always has some great idea, going like, you know what, maybe like drop that hit right there because then that silence is going to make that joke pop out more, or you should add like a sting here or there, So I don't know. We're always sort of sending things back and forth and making each other's music better.
Yeah, I mean, we talk every day and like just constant communication.
Yeah,
and I think even before every single meeting, we sort of talk and try to be on the same page, which we're always on the same page, surprisingly. I think sometimes we go to each other's studio and try playing things around together.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we split cues, I feel like we always it's interesting because sometimes I would be drawn to scenes and be like, oh, I have a really cool idea for this. But then Shirley's like,
I have no idea.
And vice versa. I have the other day we had to write some sexy music. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what they mean by that. And she was like, I know exactly what they mean. And she'll tackle it. And I'd be like, oh, wow, I didn't think that could work. So I think we also do ask each other's preference in the beginning. Like when we split cues, they're like, do you feel like you could do this? I'm like, yeah. This one. I'm like, I have a couple ideas.
Yeah.
It's always and it's super cool. And then I don't think we've ever been like, no, I don't want to do this. It's always like we'll always give it a try. I'd say very healthy.
I say so too.
It's like we've got a can-do attitude.
Yeah.
Good. That's what you need in this business. So you talked about writing themes there. So are you actually writing themes for the individual characters, or?
Yeah.
We did. I mean, we had Godcat's theme, and we had Devilcat's theme, and then we had Heaven.
Yeah, so I think we associated the sort of heaven music with Godcat in the beginning. Yeah. So then his world, where he comes from.
Yes.
We have a lot of those
ethereal choir.
And harp, all that. And when the cherubs would come down from heaven to earth, then we'll hint those themes there. And also we have Devilcat, like you've mentioned, in her world in hell. We would use the same choral element, but in a much darker way. And more bassy and
we used a lot of harpsichord for her as well.
And some metal chugs to make it satanic, and
we recorded some clarinet, clarinet slides.
Clarinets are evil, so
Exactly. I would know. I used to play it. Why did you think I quit playing clarinet? Just kidding.
but and then that's our major themes, and then we'll have Earth, where every day's an adventure. We don't know what to expect, and we don't know where they're going to end up in each episode. So then based on that and wherever they are, I think we always had a different sort of theme or genre. But then there's also we have the family theme for the Higgins family. Because at the end of each episode, they'll always have this sort of
a sweet reunion.
Yeah.
Well, not every episode, but
but their own family theme, just so which is more grounded, and it's not as epic and grand as the heaven or hell theme, but very intimate, family, warm sort of sound for those silly people.
Yeah, there are just some wonderful characters in there. In terms of the instruments, what's your sort of mix of how much is live, how much is digital recreation and that sort of stuff?
I play, like I mentioned earlier, I play viola, but I also have all the, I mean, once you play one string instrument, it's just like, you kind of fake everything else. So I have my violin, my viola, which I use for like quirky slides and like plucks here and there, and like a lot of effects, because we did have a lot of like surprisingly like horror thriller scenes that came in really handy. And also my husband's a cellist, and he's also electric guitarist who's a huge metalhead, which is like the one thing I know. It's like one thing I didn't like about him, but it came in handy for the show, which was amazing because he just shredded, you know. And then also have the double bass, which, you know, a lot of the plucks came in handy, and you know,
it was a combination. I mean, every time when we can incorporate live instrumentation, even if we didn't have the budget for it, we always want to incorporate like some live instrumentation just to breathe some life into it.
And it's also fun experimenting, just making weird sounds out of it. And if they're like, oh, we want this to be more quirky, then I'm like, all right, like I'm just gonna do something quirky, you know. And but yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the live elements, and then we blend it nicely with the MIDI.
I mean, that MIDI stuff is so good at this point that it can be really tricky to pick it out from the live stuff. You can do so much just blending it together. Were there any particular challenges with Exploding Kittens in terms of scoring?
I think the biggest challenge, well, I mean, first of all, I think comedy in general is actually a huge challenge. You know, because as I said, you know, earlier, you have to play it serious and not make it too sitcom-y, or, you know, because we have very, you know, Matthew Inman and Shane were very, very clear from the beginning that we knew what type of adult animation this was not going to be. So musically, we also knew, okay, we can't steer towards that direction. And for us, it's just like finding the moments, finding what is going to make this joke pop more, or what is going to make this funnier. I think that's always a challenge. And then on top of that, I think we said earlier too, is every episode is like a completely different, they go on a completely different adventure. So it's like compositionally, it was like having ADD, you know. So one moment we're back writing these big epic orchestral and choir scores, and the next minute, you know, Gina's here recording fiddle for Shane and Chugger's doing some Cajun flair, you know, and you know, the next minute we're writing like North Canadian dictator music. Or, you know, now we're in horror and we're doing vampires. So I think that was a challenge of just sort of navigating these different genres.
I mean, this was just the perfect show to like just experiment with.
To go for it. It was fun.
And it was so fun. It was amazing because Matt and Shane, they give great ideas, brilliant ideas, and also Brian as well. Like the three of them, they just had all these clever ideas that we would, you know, toss around. And then at first it's just like, whoa, I've never done it before, but let's do it.
How are we going to make this work?
But then we do it, and then during the preview sessions we would just be like, oh my gosh, this is working great, you know. And I think that comedy bit you mentioned, I think just to, you know, hype her up a bit, because she had that theater background and all these, you know, script analysis, it's so awesome because Shirley has such an amazing sense of like just storytelling in general, and like the sync points. Like I would not have thought to hit this moment, and I think
hit a fart.
I know. You know, and it's just, I think that also I've also learned through the process working with her as well. It's just like seeing things that I wasn't able to see and hitting them, and then
thanks, dude.
It makes it so much funnier, you know. It's just But anyways,
you got to say something nice about her now.
Oh no. Next question. Next question.
I am always in awe of you.
Shut up. Sink under the table. So, are there any particular scenes throughout the show that you were particularly proud of how they turned out?
Oh man, there's too many.
Oh my gosh, there's too many. I think for me, it's like, I think Shane and Chuggers it was so fun because
it is funny that.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned earlier when we were in Berkeley, you know, the string department's so huge. They had like my private instructor, one of them was like insane jazz violinist. And the next semester I take it with like a classical Boston Symphony Orchestra member. Next thing you know, there are like all these insane like fiddle players at school. So then I'd never have thought that would come in handy, you know. And they have Berkeley has a huge American Roots program and like the bluegrass, like everything. So when they asked for this sort of music, like Cajun style, I was like, oh wow, we get to tap into this again. It's like kind of, brought me back to nostalgia and all
like that was one of those moments where when they were mentioned, I was like, I have no idea what, and then Gina was like,
bro, I got you.
Yeah, I got it. I'm like, okay, perfect. You take this because I have no idea what to do there,
Oh man.
But I think, oh man, there's just too many. I think one of my favorites was actually a scene that we actually had to demo. Before we go, and it was probably I think in episode 2 where it was like the Armageddon fight between Godcat and Devil Cat. That was a lot of fun, and I remember just seeing it sort of before it was fully animated and scoring that as a demo, and then seeing it in context for the episode. I think that was a lot of fun. But I don't know, there's too many.
I mean, these battles, like the episode 2 battle was huge and hilarious, and then when we get to the later episodes, like 8 and 9, we're in like a arena.
Oh, that was fun, dude. Yeah, that was really fun too. Yeah, the arena battles were all fun. All these
different characters from all over the world sort of like come together.
Yeah. They were all fun. I don't know. I can't pick.
Yeah,
I think every episode there was something that we just got a huge kick out of writing.
Gosh, yeah, for sure.
Obviously, this is an animated show. You've done live action stuff as well. Is there a huge difference for you guys, how you work or the type of stuff that you're doing between the live action and the animation?
Yeah. Animation, they're so different, but also like each have its own like quirks to it. And I think the timing of it is so important, right? Like to the frame, like when we hit points, like sync points, and when I feel like live action could be a bit more like nouns.
Yeah,
and like in
definitely
like general, but animation it's like more technical, I feel.
Yeah, and I think depending on the animation too, and I think Exploding Kittens was also a very different type of animation that, to be honest, that we were actually used to scoring. I think a lot of the animation that we're used to, there's definitely more wall-to-wall music. I mean, not wall-to-wall, but there was definitely more music. But then in Exploding Kittens, it was more about how do we pair back so that when the music comes in, then there's a reason for, it's because it's just so funny. Like there's a lot of the moments where we're like, no, we shouldn't have music there. And we need to let the joke speak for itself. So I think that was, with this particular adult animation, that was one of the things I was very conscious of.
Yeah, I noticed that with this show, they're quite sparing with how they fill out the music in it, but it does have a kick when it comes in, which is good.
I mean, the writing is brilliant. I mean, we just don't want to step on, poop all around their lines because it's just,
Yeah.
It is really great. As I say, I've watched 5 episodes of it so far. I absolutely love it, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it. So it's just been a brilliant show. What other stuff are you working on at the moment? Is there anything else you've sort of got coming up that you can talk about? Are you working together separately?
Yeah. As everyone, all the Exo Kitty fans would know, season 2 has been greenlit. And we're excited about that. Especially
we just started.
Super excited because we're also a huge fan of the To All the Boys universe when it came out. And Jenny Han, the creator of the world, has been like a dream collaborator for us. So that's awesome. But Shirley has some cool, exciting stuff coming up as well.
Yeah, I mean, I am really excited about a really, really good friend of mine who's also actually Chinese-Australian as well. But I mean, met her out here in LA, weirdly enough. But we were like back home. We live 10 minutes away. We're on the same age too. Yeah,
crazy.
But she's absolutely brilliant. And she's sort of slated as to be the writer of the second Crazy Rich Asians. But so she's got a film coming out called Slanted. And so
cool.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting film. So I'm excited to work on that.
Based on the character who's Chinese.
Yeah, I think that's always nice. I mean, I can speak for both of us. I mean, growing up, never saw, anyone who looked like me on screen, unless it was like, a Chinese show, then obviously everyone was Chinese, or Korean, but, so no, I think she has a very, very sort of interesting view, and I think this film is going to be really fun. But we also worked on a couple of Apple shows. One in particular was with DreamWorks. So hopefully, I think they're coming out next year, but we'll see. I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, can we talk about it or not? I was like, wait a minute. So
No, it's like when I'm talking to people that are involved in Marvel projects and you can see the drone just lower down behind their head. So last couple of questions for you, and these are the same for everybody that I talk to. So the first question is, what TV shows are you watching at the moment?
I mean, last night
we both just watched House of Drag, the latest episode of House of Drag.
Yeah, see, I'm way behind on that because
Okay, we won't tell you.
we won't say anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh my gosh, that whole universe is insane. Like,
Yeah.
But I think I'm trying. Everyone's been telling me to watch Shogun.
Oh, Shogun was good. That was brilliant.
Yeah, so I think me and my husband we're gonna try to watch this week.
Yeah.
I've been watching Proven Innocent.
Yes.
With Jake Gyllenhaal and
yes, presumed innocent.
Presumed Innocent. Oh my gosh, yeah. See, that was great. Yeah, and just finished watching Dark Matter as well. Dark Matter, I think.
Yeah. That's the Apple.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting show too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those are the ones I've watched so far. I'm trying to think what else. Actually, I can't divulge the others because I feel like they're just trashy reality TV shows that I don't want anyone else to know I watch. It's like my guilty pleasure, you know.
Yeah, well, I think we all have some of those, so you're okay. You'd be surprised how many composers I talk to who will pick something that has practically no music in it at all because they're like,
But honestly, that's sometimes why I actually enjoy watching these trashy reality shows, because I know like usually like a composer wasn't involved and they're just sort of production music, and so then I can switch my brain off a little bit. It's just a lot of times when you're watching something, the brain is just always on. I'm like always constantly listening to the music or whatnot. But when it's a reality show, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a great pop track going on, and I can just tune out. You know.
Yeah, no, I get that. So lastly, if you had the opportunity to work on any TV series, can be something present day, something from the past, or maybe some sort of future genre you haven't worked in yet, what would it be?
You go first.
Oh man, there's so many, but I'm a huge gamer. And when I say that, there's this one game I play, like, I'm like addicted. It's League of Legends. All these Koreans do. But they released like this show called Arcane on Netflix.
Yeah, it's such a good show.
It's insane. Yeah. I was mind blown when I watched it. And I was like, this is a masterpiece. Yeah. And because I'm a huge fan of the game as well, and like all the relation they had with, all the references, like all the champions characters that show up in the show. I was just like, oh my gosh, this would be like insane to work on one day.
Yeah, and the music is so good in that show too.
They're my role models. Like Riot Game, their music team. It's the level of production.
She's fangirling right now.
But they just put out a trailer for season 2, so I'm just like, oh my god. It's like,
I really want to watch. I also, talking about TV, I also like to watch like murder mysteries and true crime things. So I don't know, I think I'm in my crime or thriller era. I'd love to score sort of a darker thriller show, a more serious thriller show. Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Cool. Yeah, good choices. Yes. I hear a lot of good things about the Arcane series. I haven't actually seen it, but
play the game first.
I'm aware of the game. I'm a huge gamer myself, but I tend to go towards city builders and that sort of stuff. I'm more in that sort of area.
We have a question for you.
Go.
Is that t-shirt coordinated for today?
It was picked specifically picked for today. My t-shirt is a skull made of kittens.
Yeah. It's incredible. The whole time I was just there. I was thinking the same thing, Gina. I was thinking the same thing. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I was looking through for something to wear today, and I was like, perfect. It has to be, really. So.
Genius.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for spending some time chatting with me. It's been really, really lovely. I love the show. I hope it gets renewed because it is hilariously funny.
Yeah. Well, you got to finish the rest of the season.
Yeah, well, that is true. I do need to finish the rest of the season.
Rewatch it from episode 1 again. And again. And again.
Give a double thumbs up on Netflix.
Yeah. Make sure the algorithm knows I like it. Yes. All hail the almighty algorithm. Yes. Exactly. Well, thank you for chatting. It's been lovely. And having me in your home and providing snacks and coffee.
Now let's dive into the snack part.
Snacks.
I've just been staring at it.
I know. And smelling it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.